So look, take us back. You were a gangly, skinny Ghostbusters wearing asthmatic. How did you go from that to, I suppose, to kicking into being a professional rugby player at 18? And as we said in the intro, actually earlier on, that you're one of the most talented players that both of us had seen grace the rugby pitch. So there's a huge step there from what you've described. So what was it like for you transitioning to becoming a professional rugby player?
Oh, I don't know. I started doing a bit of chest and arms and wore contact lenses, so that helped a little bit,
Joe presents Baz and Andrew's House of Rugby, together with Guinness.
Hello, and you're very welcome to Baz and Andrew's House of Rugby here on Joe, together with Guinness. We've got a whopper show for you today. Trimble and I will be chatting all about the rugby news, general crack and penguin whispers. We're going to be joined by Ospreys and Wales legend, and in my opinion, one of the most talented players to have ever played our game, Mr. James Hook, who has just announced his retirement coming at the end of the month. Unfortunately, he won't get to play out the season for obvious reasons, but we'll talk to him about his incredible career, shine a light on that. And also, he is now stepping into the book writing world with a series of children's books about rugby to be released later in the year. So we'll chat to him about that. With that in mind, Trimby, we are going to move away from our classic album, match, and movie this week and go into the world of sports literature. We have self-anointed Jeff Neville, aka the Loose Head on Twitter, as our sports literature authority. Consultant, yeah, way better.
Yeah.
Well done. It's the first time I've ever remembered that word. So he's going to take us through his 3 top sports books of all time, namely Sam Warburton, Open Sides, David Epstein's The Sports Gene, and Andre Agassi's Open. Look at us, got pure smart.
Is Andre Agassi from Limerick?
He is, yeah.
Yeah.
His father used to own a chipper there on High Road. Agassi's chipper, the Golden Grill. Yeah, we're going pure smart. Look at us.
Yeah. I think we're getting a little bit clever for our own good. For 1 week only, let's get clever, and then let's get back to being dumb next week.
Yeah, I was thought I was so clever yesterday. I was walking through UL with Andre Agassi's book, and I was walking and reading it.
Oh, that's dangerous.
It was. I nearly walked into a few of those waist high bollards a few times, but I felt like a scholar. I felt like someone from like Lord of the Rings, like Littlefinger or one of those lads walking through an old garden with a book.
With the book upside down.
So yeah, great book.
Yeah. So, but anyway, before we get into that, another little bit of housekeeping. I feel like this is I'm getting into the groove of this. This is the safety briefing before flight or something. Just make sure and have a look at our new YouTube home. We've got a new profile there, our Baz and Andrew's House of Rugby channel on YouTube. There's going to be exclusive videos and the best bits of our episodes. 600 people. That figure was 500 last week, so 100 people fell for it.
Yeah.
600 subscribers already, so there's plenty of room for more. Please subscribe and check it out.
Yeah, I'm on board. Right, Trimby, I have a public service announcement to make. Do you remember a few weeks ago I was talking about a lot of people who I was calling out for spoofing and putting up their 5 kilometer scores on Instagram, and I was like, there's no way all these people are running sub 22, 21 minute kilometer, 5 kilometer runs. And I named and shamed my barber and friend Garrett for running a 22 kilometer or 22 minute 5 kilometer. He then got on to me and claimed me. Basically, he goes, "I'll race you." So I was like, "Oh shit!"
It was the only response.
I know, but I didn't think he could, because I play soccer with him all the time, and he can run, like he can put one foot in front of the other. But I said, "There's no way," because I can only run 5K in 27 minutes. I was like, "There's no way this guy can run 5 minutes faster than me, like an entire kilometer away from me at 5K." Yeah. So I was like,
"Why is he large?"
No, he's not. It's just because I've played football with him. He's just kind of gets around, but I would have assumed I was maybe fitter than him because professional athlete, etc.
Yeah.
So he claimed me anyway, and we went down on Friday. And there was alarm bells early doors where he was like, I was doing the old, look, I haven't stretched at all now, and I didn't. The babies had me up all night, and I was trying to give myself as much wriggle room as possible. And my calf has been at me. And then he was like, yeah, look, I've got a problem with my nose. I can't really breathe properly through my nose, so I won't be able to talk to you because I have to do all my breathing through my mouth. So I won't talk. And I was there, jeez, he's not going to talk to me the whole way around. And then he pulls his headphones out and puts his headphones in, and he was like, look, we'll go for it. First 2 kilometers are going to be fast, so we'll go for it. And I was like, grand. We ran a 4 on the nose 4-minute first kilometer, and then the second one was like 4 minutes 20, and about 200 meters into the third one, I had to stop and get sick.
Sounds like you really showed him.
It was, oh fuck, it was so bad, man. I was like on the side of the road there by Chalks in the main Dublin road as you come into Limerick, and there was loads of traffic passing me as well. People beeping their cars at me because it went on. It was one of those Team America pukes where it went on for like 45 seconds. And you know why? This is a hot take. Well, it was not a hot take. This is why. Because I was running around for the first 2 kilometers, I couldn't spit because I was afraid that if I spat, people would be like, coronavirus.
No way.
Yeah. So I was like holding in my spit, and then my throat got just covered in like mucus and just normal stuff that you get out. So I was getting all heartburny. So are you allowed to spit if you're running a?
Yes. Yeah, definitely. Like, has the world changed that much? By the way, if 5Ks are very trendy at the minute, if 2.5Ks become fashionable, your quid's in. 'Cause it sounds like you're flying.
2.2K.
2.2K. What's your 2.2K time?
It was ridiculous. That's how quick it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. So look, I must take my hat off to that fucking maniac. He ran it in 22 minutes. I came in at 27 minutes, literally 5 minutes behind him. So well done, Garrett. You are the king of the world.
Jeez, you really proved your own.
Yeah. But I did go for a few pints afterwards. The Curragower in Limerick, my favorite pub, also my brother's pub, so I kind of have to say that, opened its doors on Friday at 4:00 for takeaway pints and food, which was unbelievable.
Lovely. That was a wee view over the Shannon, is it?
Yeah, it's the best spot in Limerick. It looks right across King John's Castle and right on the Shannon. And he was like, "You're not allowed. You have to drink your pint or eat your food 100 meters away from the pub." So I was like a quantity surveyor up the road, like just trying to make sure exactly how far away I was, so I could just get my order in for the next 2. Or wish I had one of those pitch marking things that you could roll up to.
Yeah, like a meter. Yeah, like a roller. Yeah, where it clicks every minute. Yeah. So that's the legislation? Then you have to, if it's considered takeaway, you have to be. What did you say? 100 meters.
100 meters away from the premises before you can drink, so that they don't because it's such a nice area. They can't have a load of people just sitting outside, getting demented.
Yeah,
but imagine it'd be like a zombie movie where people are all just outside the public just trying to get in against the windows. Yeah.
A little bit of normality. We're easily pleased at this stage, aren't we?
Yeah, well, there's changes. Today is the second day of where we're allowed to have people in our house and crack like that. So what's it like up there? Is there anything changing up there?
Still not allowed people in your house, but you're allowed small gatherings of 6 outside. So we had Granny and Granda down, and Dad brought his power hose. So
there you go.
Yeah, and he seems like he's just he started hosing the paving out the back and all, and then he appeared like a man who hasn't had to worry about kids for a long time. Molly and Jack were annoying him, right? And then I just heard him say, "See that stone there, Jack? Go and see if you can find some more stones." He sent them on a. Jack fell for it, to be fair. And then 5 minutes later, then Molly switched. Molly switched his power hose off, and he turned around and hosed her with whatever was left. So
that's great.
She came in tears.
She was
Have you
upset.
missed Granddad? Have you?
Power hose. There's a difference between like playfully turning a hose on a child to power hosing her in the face.
I know, it's like the snowball fight in
child.
the snowball fight in Dumb and Dumber. It's like, if it's a cute snowball fight, that's fine. But it's like taking her head off. Yeah,
that's great. Power hose take your skin off. Like, I wonder how often your dad sent you looking for rocks when you were younger. I'd say a lot. I'd imagine you fell for that a lot.
I did. Yeah. The other thing was that I had a moment of realization what my dad was going through. It's Jack's birthday coming up, and he got a box of Connects Lego, and he sat down. He wanted to do this with me, and there was like a race car we were making. It's quite technical. Jack's actually quite good with it, but it just brought me back. As soon as Jack invited me in to do that, I was in charge, and Jack wasn't touching anything.
You weirdo.
Yeah. And then I realized this is exactly what happened whenever I was a kid. Dad brought me down to the model shop, and I got this wee airplane model, like with glue and bits of tape and all. And I just remember it got to the end of it, and I went, "Dad, I haven't touched that once." So, like, history.
This is not a toy, Andrew. This is not a toy. Yeah. It's a model airplane.
Yeah. So it's just a case of Jack just sitting over my shoulder watching me do it, which he seemed to enjoy. It's fine.
Yeah, sure he did.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just get him more rocks to play with.
Go and find some stones, Jack. Cheers.
All right, some rugby news. The top Southern Hemisphere and Northern Hemisphere unions are set to meet up on June 15th for more talks about global rugby season 2021 and beyond. So the Six Nations could move to March and April, and the Lions tour could be September. Or a few cheap Bill Sweeney has said everything is on the table. Everything
is on the table sounds like a very dramatic headline, and then they say, but we're contemplating Six Nations moving back by a month.
A few weeks.
Yeah.
Three weeks. Yeah. Well, I feel like it will be on the table, because I feel like that conversation has really taken a jump now, a step up. Everyone is talking about it. And again, we've said this before, there is no negative side to it in my eyes. What are the negative connotations of moving the season? So basically,
one potential negative apparently is so the positive is obviously better weather. For us, we're talking about the summer. From our perspective, talking about playing in the summer, getting better weather, better rugby, and not having to compete with the Premier League apparently is a big thing. But
yes,
every year you'll have to compete with football World Cups, World Championships, Olympics, all that. There's going to be
GAA would be a big one, I'd say.
GAA, yeah.
But the GAA is well spread out as well. They don't have as many games. It's not like every week is a huge game. It's more condensed. So I know what you mean, but I don't know. I'd love to see just a little bit of change anyway, to take the first step.
Yeah.
And see how we get on. But sure, look, we'll see what happens. Huge. Our Pat did a great article actually on all the transfers that have happened in the last few weeks in last few months anyway, for next season in international rugby. There's an article on Sports Joe that you can check out to find them. Some of my favourites obviously being Dealande and Snyman from Munster. Connacht have signed Conor Oliver, Sammy Ireland and Oisin Dowling, as we said last week. Ulster, Matheson and Madigan. Leinster, interesting enough, have made no new signings. Rona O'Gara's La Rochelle have signed Bryce Doolan, Dylan Ladens and Will Skelton. Zeebs and Dunners will be joined at Racing by Kurtley Beale, who, I don't know if you saw this, was interviewed by David Campese about his move, and Kempesi asked him who'd be coached by in wrestling. He goes, "Oh fuck, I don't know, mate. That's a good
No way.
a good question. I don't know. No idea who his coach is going to be."
Jeez, lad. That's
I was kind of
terrible.
I was hoping he might like try and guess or try and spoof like Pierre
Mignone.
Jacques.
Jacques Cousteau.
Well, no, in typical Aussie fashion, it's just like,
Gerard Depardieu.
well, he'll definitely be the French coach if they ever make a movie. It'll be 100%.
Yes. Yeah. The other one, not the big one. I see after the World Cup, you forget very quickly. Everyone moves on, and then you forget about Matsushima. Do you remember that Japanese winger at the World Cup? Killing it, scoring tries for fun, going unbelievably well. That's the best thing about World Cups. You find out something about someone from a like a country you knew less about, and you're like, that guy is just like dominating on the world stage. And he signed for Claremont apparently, and everybody was kind of wondering what he's going to do. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's brilliant, man. Yeah, I loved him. I wonder how Claremont's a good place for him to be as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good side, good rugby, like to spin the ball around. That's brilliant. Good addition.
Mm-hmm.
What else is happening? The English Premier salary cap is going to drop from 7 million to 5 million, but teams will be allowed 2 marquee players outside of that, which is another decent move, isn't it?
Yeah. It was potentially looking like it was going to unravel a little bit and just continue to not unravel, just kind of spiral out of control a little bit financially. But then I suppose playing for England is going to keep the English players local, because
true.
I don't know what way the salary cap is in France, but they seem to be getting paid more. So they need to have that incentive to keep the Premiership competitive and keep talent there.
Yeah, no, I think it's ultimately a good one. Okay, that's loads of rugby news. Let's get James Hook on the phone on the show in part 2. Come right up.
Okay, we've got James Hook on the show. James, you look properly isolated there, curtains drawn. How you getting on?
I'm all right, thanks, mate. Yeah, thanks for having me, boys. Just trying to get away downstairs, away from the kids. Got 3 boys, so it's not quiet in my house.
I know the feeling. Just do as many podcasts as you possibly can. Grand. So how's isolation been right now for the 3 wee ones?
Not too bad, mate. Not too bad. I think we've been lucky with the weather, haven't we? But I don't know about you boys over there, but we've had some great weather. So the kids have been getting outside and playing about in the garden and things. But yeah, not much homeschooling going on. You mind?
Yeah, I'm sure. What age are the kids?
10, 4, and nearly 5 and 3.
Okay, hectic enough. Does it get easier? Myself and Barry are in the thick of it.
No, I can't say it gets easier, boys. I'd like to say it does, but they're busy. Like I say, 3 boys. It's always going to be busy. But what have you got? How many kids have you got?
We've got 3. We had our third last summer. So they're 5, 3, and 1. So
flipping heck. Yeah, that's tough.
Yeah, it's hectic. Barry's in the trenches.
I've infant twins, James. So 10 months old.
Nice
boy and a girl. Yeah, one foul swoop. And they've started now waking up in the middle of the night and just having the cracks. So it's chaos.
You got all out the way, and you're done and dusted now, eh?
I know, yeah. And I've been so smug, Trimble will tell you, for the last 10 months. I've been like, this is easy. And then the last 2 weeks, they've been like, right, changing it up.
So they start walking. The cupboard locks a lot now.
Yeah.
Yeah, our wee one, Katie, just started taking a few steps there, but she looks like Tucker from There's Something About Mary when she's walking.
Brilliant.
So she'll get through that phase, and then it'll be chaos after that. But
she's like, no, I got this. I got this. You're trying to help her. She's like, no, I got this.
Yeah, so as it be nice to kind of, it's obviously not ideal the way things finished up. You would have liked to have got a send off, but is that a nice period now, getting spend some time with the kids and then transition from there?
Yeah, no, it is. Like you say, it's not ideal the way it's obviously finished off. But obviously, once the lockdown started, I had a good feeling. Because obviously, I'd announced my retirement at the start of the year, and yeah, like you say, it would have been nice to finish off with a couple of games. But yeah, there's obviously a bit more important things going on. So I understand that. But yeah, it would have been nice to finish off with a game. But yeah, that's the way it goes. I can't complain about a decent career. So I'm looking ahead now to the future, really.
Yeah, and you were very clear. Like there's a lot of lads they would kind of struggle with making a decision like that, but it sounds like you were pretty clear. You wanted to finish up.
Yeah, I'm 35 this month now, so not getting any younger, boys. It's like, but yeah, I feel like I've lost a bit of pace over the last year or two, and I suppose I can see the gaps, but can't get through them now. So it's time to finish off, I think.
Yeah, that's frustrating. I could never even really see the gaps.
You want the pace on it, didn't you?
Yeah, I could get through the gaps. I just didn't know where they were. But yeah, must be more frustrating for you. But tell us a little bit. You're obviously it's a transition for you, kind of getting into retirement. But have you got plans for the future? I know you're doing a bit of coaching.
Yeah, no, I'm enjoying doing a bit of coaching with the academy boys. Been coaching the Ospreys under 18s. Enjoying doing some kicking stuff as well. So doing some kicking coaching with the academy and some of the senior boys there. There's the Welsh Rugby Union have put on like a professional level 3 coaching course for us. So there's quite a few of us on that. So we're coming to the end of that now. So yeah, I'm going to dip my toe in, see if I like it and see how it goes.
No, very good. Is there any of the other Ospreys doing it then? A few of the other lads doing it?
Yeah, so the Ospreys, Paul James, prop, Justin Tiprick, Bradley Davis, second row, Lee Halfpenny's doing it as well. So it's about 9 or 10 of us on the course. Dan Fish from the Blues fullback. So it's the first year they've actually put this professional players course on for us. So yeah, it's just seemed like a no-brainer for me to jump on it,
Yeah, everybody finishes at the same time. Then everybody's trying to get the same jobs.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's not many of those jobs there. So, but it's all a good experience.
Yeah, so that's plan A. Is plan B? Obviously, you're doing a slightly more unusual route with becoming an author. I think whenever someone says I'm becoming an author, like straight away your street cred has gone through the roof. Like you see, I mean, the credibility's just gone through the roof. But tell us a little bit about that process, becoming an author and how that came about.
Yeah, it was when I was playing in Gloucester. My eldest boy Harrison, who's 10 now, there's a book fair in the school after he finished, so we went in to go and get a book. And he's rugby mad, so he wanted a rugby book and for children, obviously, but there was none there. And a lot of football books for children and other sports. But so I said, we'll have a look online, and couldn't really see any, And so it just got me thinking a little bit, and thought, especially in Wales, everybody's rugby mad, and it's quite similar over there with you guys. So I got in touch with a family friend who's called Mal Pope, who's a musician, does a bit of work for the BBC, and just said, any children's authors? Because I got a few ideas. He put me in touch with Dave Brayley, who I've collaborated the book with. And yeah, we met each other. So it started pretty much straight away. He was on board with me. We were on the same page. Excuse the pun, but yeah, we just went from there. And I think once we written the first book, it was sort of getting someone to buy into it. Then, to get a publisher. So there's a bit of a wait, but then Pete Burns, who's the publisher, a Scottish publisher called Polaris, he loved it, and yeah, I went from there really. So we also had to get a literacy agent as well. So things were completely new to me really. But something different, and yeah, so it was out. Sorry, it was supposed to be out on the 4th of June, but obviously with the pandemic and all that sort of stuff going on, it's been put back to October the 1st for the first book. So we got a 2-book contract. So yeah, hopefully it'll go well.
What's it about? What's the premise of the book?
So basically, it's based on myself. So as a young boy called Jimmy. So when I was growing up, I was sort of a gangly, skinny, asthmatic, wore Ghostbuster glasses, that sort of thing. But I had a dream to play.
I have it all. Yeah. You can see it.
You can see the image now, can you?
Yeah.
But I had a dream to play rugby for Wales, and yeah, I suppose like every young boy and girl in Wales, they all want to they got dreams, and a lot of them want to play for Wales in rugby. So I thought, I'd put all that into a children's book. So, a lot of ups and downs, and my career has never been sort of straightforward. So, that all sort of resonates in the book. So hopefully that'll come across anyway.
Yeah, and then so
Brilliant.
how do you follow up then for it? It's a 2-book series. Then have you got plans kind of on down the line, or have you got? Is it like Game of Thrones? Are you kind of thinking we'll see where this takes us, or have you got a bit of a plan in place?
I think we've got to see what it takes you. I think ideally we would like to do more, but like I say, the first one's out October the 1st, so I suppose it depends how that goes. But yeah, there's a lot of people I've spoken to are excited about it, children in particular, especially young boys and girls. Try to encourage those to read as well. That's important, particularly boys. They don't want to read really. Let's be fair. So and hopefully it'll encourage sort of the adults to read with them as well. So yeah, we'll see.
So look, take us back. You were a gangly, skinny Ghostbusters wearing asthmatic. How did you go from that to, I suppose, to kicking into being a professional rugby player at 18? And as we said in the intro, actually earlier on, that you're one of the most talented players that both of us had seen grace the rugby pitch. So there's a huge step there from what you've described. So what was it like for you transitioning to becoming a professional rugby player?
I don't know. I started doing a bit of chest and arms and wore contact lenses, so that helped a little bit, Yeah, every kid in Wales, boy and girl, loves playing rugby. But I sort of played a lot of other sports, sort of football, played cricket. So it wasn't until probably 16, 17 years of age where I sort of started taking rugby seriously. And I don't know what it's like in Ireland, but for a long time, well, especially when you're a kid, you play football on a Saturday and rugby on a Sunday. But as you get older, the rugby moves to a Saturday, so I sort of had a decision to make. And for me, it was rugby or football. I chose rugby, thankfully, and yeah, it was from sort of 16, 17 where I kicked on then, and you start playing county rugby, and you start getting selected for like the Welsh youth setup, things like that, and yeah, so that's when I sort of started taking it seriously, because I was a scrum half as well up until the age of 17. And then
Right.
I moved to fly half then, just in my first season of senior rugby.
Right.
Yeah.
Is that like that's an interesting take, and I'd be down the same lines of thinking it helps for kids to develop skills through by playing a load of different sports and being a kid basically.
Yeah.
So were you starting off as coaching under 18s now? Is that kind of something that you really want to take into your I suppose your philosophy in coaching, that kids need to develop? Like I saw Arsene Wenger saying recently about Arsenal under 6s or 7s, when they're signing these kids, they're getting them into a football program, and they're not developing other skills. They're not developing even how to fall out of a tree or how to, so they're actually believe it or not, they're getting parkour trainers into these Premiership teams to teach kids how to fall and that kind of crack, which seems bizarre, but yeah. So that's obviously something that you believe in.
Yeah, and I think obviously what's changed now is there's a lot of academy systems, things like that being brought in, and taken more seriously. And like I say, when I was sort of 16, 17, all I wanted to do was play. Like, I was playing football on Saturday, rugby on a Sunday, and I could play 3-4 games a week. But now everything's managed, probably a bit too much, if you're honest. You know what I mean? I think it's important to get these boys playing regularly. Some academy boys sort of 18 years of age, will play probably once every 2 weeks sometimes. And I think they've got to be playing more than that. And I think, yeah, especially at a young age, you want to get as much rugby under your belt as possible, and especially from a personal point of view, that's what I think.
Yeah, as much exposure to different sports, but different activities, and just running around, being kids, having the crack, as you say, by learning how to fall correctly. Like I was playing with my young fella in the garden the other day, and we were playing with the ball, and the ball went over the fence. And I was like, whenever I was a kid, if a ball went over the fence, I thought nothing of it. You just whipped over that fence like it wasn't there.
Yeah.
But at 35, I'm looking at that fence going, I'm gonna wreck myself on that fence.
How many nettles are over the fence?
Nettles dictate everything in child. Nettles and fences, they're the two big. They're more important. They play a bigger role in childhoods than mothers and fathers, I think. But yeah, it's just getting kids kind of, just as you say, about being kids and getting loads of exposure. So you played lots of cricket and football and everything else then?
Yeah, all that. Yeah, tennis, just things like that. And, you know, we grew up on sort of a street. A lot of my mates lived close by, so it was just a case of, you know, we'd go out sometimes summer holidays, you know, sort of 8, 9 in the morning, and you know, we wouldn't come back till about sort of 7, 8 at night. You know what I mean? We'd probably have a packet of crisps all day, and that's it. Like, you know, and
Mhm.
that's just the way it was, you know. But I suppose, you know, with everything else going on, things have changed a bit, a little, you know, at the moment. So yeah, I
Mm.
suppose it
I
does
suppose that,
change.
like, and the point you made about players playing less games now at 18, 19, like, you're still developing
Mm.
massively at that age, right? Like, I remember not really kicking on till I was probably 21, 22 to kind of have developed a rounded enough game or way to play, and that was because I was just playing week in, week out, and training every day. So do you think we've gotten to a point now where we've gone down a certain route too
Mm.
far in terms of managing players, and we need to come back out of it and let players play as often as possible?
Yeah, maybe. I think you just look at like pre-season training. You know, you can train for months on end and do as much sort of tackling practice, kicking, running, whatever you want. But as soon as you come to that first game, it's completely different. And I think that match practice is so key. And you know, I've noticed I've done a lot of pre-seasons over the years, and you think you're ready for the game, and then that first game comes, you're blowing. You know, you're not quite on the money, and you need sort of 3, 4 games to get into it. And I think every player can sort of resonate with that. So yeah, I think playing, you know, there's no substitute for playing.
Yeah.
Mm.
So that transition, James, take us through that. Obviously, like as you say, you started getting involved in Wales under 17s, 18 schools, 21s
Yeah.
it might have been, and then you moved to Ospreys, and it was the Galacticos, and it was like all the fake tan, all the white teeth, and an incredible group of players, and we got hammered by I don't know how many times. But do you look back on that with fond memories, and tell us, would you still keep in touch with all those fellas?
Yeah. First of all, yeah, I keep in touch with quite a lot of the boys, but yeah, I suppose coming through for the Wales under 18s, that was my first sort of proper taste of sort of international rugby, if you like. It was the youth team, so the Wales under 18 schools was seen as the best 18s team, and then there was the youth. So I played for the youth, and then didn't play representative rugby until under 21s then, and that's when I sort of really sort of, I suppose, came onto the scene, if you like. So I had my yeah, I actually had my first Welsh cap before I started the game for the Ospreys,
Oh wow.
Wow.
which was yeah, quite special. So it was on the Argentina tour in 2006, and then even though I had my sort of my first cap, I still felt like I had to, you know, establish myself for my region. Lynn Jones was the coach, and you know, he's quite clever, really. You know, he didn't just throw me in. You know, he sort of eased me in. There was Gavin Henson was there, Sean Connor was there at 10, Matthew Jones, if you remember. So, you
Mhm.
know, I had to sort of earn my stake there in the region. So, yeah,
I,
once I
I
did that, you
think
know, like you say,
I think our first memory over here in Ireland of you coming onto the scene was that sale match in Liberty Stadium, where you were
yeah,
6 points down going into injury time, and you started in your own 22 and continued phase after phase for
yeah,
7 minutes, finishing off with Shane Williams scoring in the corner. And that was my first memory going, Jesus, who's this kid that come off the bench at 60 minutes?
yeah.
And you look like you'd been playing for years, your confidence, you were heavily involved in that try, and then kick the conversion to win it then at the end. What are your
Yeah,
memories of that day? That was incredible to watch.
yeah, it was special. And I think I wasn't actually meant to be involved in the squad that game. I think Henson pulled out, he had a groin strain just before the game. So Sean Connor started, I came onto the bench. And like you say, he was against Sale, and Sale at that time were pretty much like the Saracens have been the last few years. You know, they had an amazing squad. You know, Jason Robinson, Shabal, Cueto, Charlie Hodgson, Dwayne Peel, all these sort of boys. And I think they just were league champions. You know, the kings of Europe at the time. So it's a big test for us. And I came on, yeah, with about 20 minutes to go. And like you say, we were losing the game, and we went a ridiculous amount of phases. And I had a kick to win the game, which, yeah, I suppose all helped to sort of cement my place in the squad there.
Hmm. You just
Um,
looked like you were playing with complete freedom back then, man. Was that the attitude that Lynn Jones gave you? Was it just go out and play rugby? I mean, you had, when you look at the team, Shane, you Lee Burns, Shane Williams, Sonny Parker, yourself. even Alan Wynne-Jones was, what was he? He's younger than you. Is he 1920? He must have been back then.
Yeah, he's younger than me, Al. Yeah.
Yeah, it's incredible to see the wealth he had, but the manner in which he played as well was just looked like you were playing with that open freedom and fun that you talk about, having grown up with that with your own mates on the road.
Yeah, no, and Lynn Jones is a great coach for us, and obviously we had a lot of success under Lynn, and yeah, we did play with a lot of freedom. You know, it was obviously a little bit of structure, but nowhere near as much structure as in the game now. As a 10, you know, towards the end of my career, I'm writing pages after pages of moves, trying to remember them for games. You know, back then you'd write 2 or 3 moves down. You know them in your head because you trained them all week, and it was just go out and play. So it's definitely changed a lot since then.
Yeah. One thing that that it sounds like you were known for, having chatted to Tommy there during the week, he said one of the big things that he remembers about you was these rousing speeches. And I'm not talking about like before the game. I'm talking about before a night in the beers. So was there a speech that night, or was that kind of just slightly before your time, or he said
way
there's,
before my time.
yeah, he said there's William Wallace, there's Braveheart speech, there's Any Given Sunday, and then there's Hooky just before we go on the beers.
They probably enjoy it because I'm so bad, that's why. So they pretend I'm good, but no, I don't think so. Trust Tommy to say that.
I just picture you as the William Wallace of Wales, and your rousing speeches instead of fighting the English. It's like Sons of Wales.
He's got a dragon on his face instead of the blue William Wallace.
Have you seen Twin Town, the Welsh film Twin Town?
Yes. Yeah.
There's a character in there called Bryn Cartwright. So I think they think I'm like him, really. So have a look at it and you'll know what I mean.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's a real one. We'll have to rewatch.
Yeah, spot on. The other thing, James, I wanted to kind of settle something as well. Whenever Tommy went to the Ospreys, Tommy knew that I had moved from centre to the wing, so he knew that I couldn't catch a high ball, right? And there was I think it was a 22 restart, and I looked up, and obviously Tommy and I kept in touch a good bit. I looked up, and you looked at me holding the ball you were about to kick off, and you looked at me, and then you went to Tommy, and you went, "Is that him?" And then you kicked it at me specifically because Tommy had told you I couldn't catch. He denies it, but I just want to get to the bottom of that. Did he tell you I couldn't catch?
It's probably true, mate. Yeah.
So apparently I did catch that one. I can't remember. Tommy said he was more surprised that I caught that one.
What I love about it is that you didn't know who he was, so you had to ask Tommy. So he was obviously saying Andrew Trimble can't catch the ball, and you were like, "Which one is Andrew Trimble?"
Tommy goes, "The one that looks like he can't catch." Yeah, very good.
But in fairness, Tommy was brilliant for us. He's amazing, because it's rare sort of international players from Ireland come and move. Probably he wasn't at the peak then, but he wasn't far off it, and he came and coming to the Ospreys did him the world of good, and he was such a benefit to the Ospreys. He was incredible. A bit like yourself, and played wing and centre, and wherever he played was outstanding.
Yeah, that was the catalyst for him. I think whenever he moved across, he was kind of fed up a little bit, not getting maybe as much joy as he should have got. Then he went across there, and I think maybe, as you say, the style just suited him. Seemed to play a little bit more rugby in the centre when he went over there. Got his hands on the ball more and just dominated, and then took that over to Ireland.
Yeah, 100%. The fans loved him here as well.
Is that right? Yeah, Louis Wallace they called him, didn't they? Hooky, you mentioned Twin Town there, but I believe that's not your favourite movie, is it?
What for you now, mate?
Home Alone's your favourite movie, I hear.
I do, yeah. I'm a bit of a kid at heart, I think, and a creature of habit as well. So yeah, Home Alone 1 and 2, I love. Big Daddy, all the kids' films.
Yeah. So classic. I'm a big fan of Home Alone as well. So I've put together a Home Alone quiz just to test your knowledge.
Here we go. Yeah.
If you're happy enough, we'll kick it off here. Question 1. The iconic the picture of Kevin with his hands on his face and the scream, the famous scream. What was that caused by?
He put aftershave on, didn't he?
Yeah, 1 from 1. Harry and Marv, they're the wet bandits in the first movie, but they get renamed for Home Alone 2.
Sticky bandits.
Yes. I've started, so I will continue. The black and white film Kevin watches. This is a tricky one, by the way. The standard's going to get higher here. The black and white film Kevin watches, featuring the classic line, keep the change, you filthy animal. What was the name of the film?
Oh, it's a tough one. Oh, it's a tough one. I don't know. I know he obviously shoots him and he uses the sound to get rid of Harry and Marv.
The firecrackers.
The film.
Yeah.
You got me there, mate.
It was Angels with Dirty Souls.
Oh, God,
Does it ring a bell?
No, it doesn't ring a bell.
No, that's tricky. What's the name of the kid that wets the bed and Kevin doesn't want to sleep beside him?
Fuller.
Well done. Yeah.
Too much Pepsi, isn't he?
Yeah. Okay, right. In a conversation at the church, Kevin and Marty talk about an item of clothing. Marty says, "That's nice." Kevin said, "Not for a guy in the 2nd grade. You could get beat up for wearing something like that." What were they talking about?
In number 2, you said?
No, it's in the first one.
He's talking to old man Marley, is he?
Yeah.
I remember it.
Yeah, you want me to tell you?
Hat, like a little sort of hat.
No, it's a sweater with a big bird knitted on it.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, this is easy now. What's Kevin's favorite type of pizza?
Macaroni and cheese. No, cheese pizza.
Cheese pizza, plain cheese. Yeah.
Plain cheese.
Now this last question, right? I'm going to ask you for a quote, and you can get 1 point if you give us the quote in your Welsh accent, and you get 2 points if you give it in the accent that it was delivered in Home Alone. I'll tell you what I'm going to give you, Snakes. I'm going to give you, to the count of 10, to get your go.
You lousy, lying, no Curtis, off my door. That's full of lead.
Yes. I'll give you that. I'll give you that. That
2 points,
close. 2 points. It was very close. Well done.
I think I messed a couple of words up there, didn't I? I was on the right lines, wasn't I?
Yeah, lousy.
It was the attitude.
The attitude was the attitude made up for a slight inaccuracy.
The attitude was good.
Yeah. Well done, James. Very good.
Cheers, mate.
Jeez, people are going to love that. This guy played for Wales and the Lions and Perpignan and Gloucester and the Barbarians and everything. We haven't even touched on that. We're just talking about Home Alone. But on that, there's been lovely tributes pouring in, man. How many of them are slagging you for wearing fake tan? It sounds like loads of them. And how sick are you of that slag?
Yeah, I'm sick of it, mate.
Yeah.
Nah, there's a lot of the boys around that Osprey squad in the early days. We're all guilty of it probably, but I don't know.
Let's move on.
Move on, yeah.
Well, there is some lovely tributes coming in, and rightly so, like Johnny Wilkinson, Dimitri Yesh, Philly Adam Jones, Gordon Darcy. But one thing I've always wanted to, if I was to send you, is like send you a message. How much work did you put into your handoff? And where did that come from? Because for not a huge man, what are you, 90, 91, 92 kgs?
Yeah, 92.
Yeah, that's a skill that, man, if you watch your highlight reel back, it's just handoff after handoff after handoff, which I love.
Yeah, to be honest, I didn't put a great deal of work into it. It's not something I've grown up practicing. I think maybe because I am sort of not the biggest guy, and playing at 10, you take the ball to the line a lot, and I think it's a lot of it is sort of sorry boys, a lot of it is sort of natural, I suppose. But Sean Edwards was really good at teaching us, how to do a handoff. We practice it a lot under Sean Edwards, and also practice defending a handoff as well. But yeah, to be honest, I didn't put a great deal of work into it. I suppose it was a little bit natural. I suppose because I've got long arms, I got probably a longer reach than probably a lot of people think. So some players think that they've got me, and then all of a sudden, you put a bit of a fend on and you get away. So yeah, did practice a little bit, but not a great deal.
Mm.
Oh, it was
Yeah.
incredible. You had all the skills, James. I know anybody you chat to, you know, about your career, everybody just talks about how talented you were, your vision. You could kick off both feet, your fend, both sides, your distribution, footwork, everything was incredible. I know you played a lot of 10 early on. You got a lot of joy early on. Was it frustrating for you that kind of you got moved about a little bit, played a bit of 12, 13, 15 towards the end as well with Wales?
Yeah, that's probably one of the most asked questions I get, really. And like I say, I started at 10, played a lot of my rugby at 12, my early rugby at 12 as well. And I suppose it was frustrating, but like if I didn't play that amount of positions, perhaps I wouldn't have got the amount of caps that I did get. So I don't know, you know, it was a bit of a blessing perhaps as well. And I think it's the 2011 Six Nations pretty much sums up my career really, because I started, I think, the first game at 15. Then I moved to 10 against Scotland. Felt they had a really good game, and obviously that's the position I preferred the most. And then Jonathan Davis at 13 got injured during that game, so the next game against Italy, I thought, you know, I'd go on and play at 10, but because he was injured, I got moved to 13. So I played 10 centre and 15 throughout that whole Six Nations. So that's pretty much the Six Nations that sums my career up, really.
Yeah, it's
well,
tricky. Yeah.
On more of a positive note, I would have looked at the Grand Slam in 2008, and is that kind of the highlight for you if you look back on that colourful career?
Oh yeah. I think you talk about the Ospreys. Like early on, we had a lot of success, and early on in my international career, we had a lot of success. And yeah, that's got to be right up there. And beating England and Twickenham, where nobody really gave us a hope, and went on to beat Scotland in the next game. And the Irish game actually was quite funny. And we played in Croke Park. Did you play in that? And
I did, yeah. I did play that.
2008,
I think it was on the bench, yeah.
Yeah, I was on the bench as well. And on the way to the game, I always carry my bag on the bus because I didn't like just waiting around getting the bag from the bottom. So you just get your bag and go straight off. And
yeah,
you know that feeling when I was on the bus, you're like 5-10 minutes into the journey, and you feel like you forgot your passport, and you're like, shit,
yeah.
I felt that with my kicking tee, and I knew, like I was really sort of diligent and made sure all my kit was packed, obviously, and I knew I'd forgotten my kicking tee. We went kicking the day before in Croke Park, and I'd left it in my other bag. So I was like, you know, it's like on the bus, everyone's quiet, listening to the music, the coaches in the front, the police escort, the motorbikes in front. And I'm like, I need my kicking tee. What am I going to do? Like, you know? So I thought, yeah, I need it. So I had to walk down the bus, had to tap Gatlin on the shoulder and Neil Jenkins on the shoulder and just whisper and say, I've forgotten my kicking tee. So Neil Jenkins wasn't happy at all. So we had to stop the bus, stop the police escort, to give the guy the policeman my room key, tell him my room number, and fair play to him. He darted straight back to the hotel, got my kicking tee, and he was at the stadium before we were. So he must have been flying around the streets of Dublin like Carl Fogarty. Yeah.
That's brilliant. I know the feeling, not with the kicking tee, obviously, but I started bringing my bag on the bus because I always thought I'd forgotten my boots. If I put them underneath, then I never had the opportunity to check. I would open my bag, look, see my boots, close my bag again, and then I'd be like, I bet you've forgotten your boots, and I would have to recheck. And then that was the only way of getting around that. I had to bring my bag in the bus with me. And as you said, like, if you can't see it there and then, I always had this theory: if you play 300 professional games, like, you know, if you play in around 300 professional games, you'll forget your boots once. 1 in 300 times, you'll probably forget your boots, or as you say, you forget your kicking tee or something that's going to put you off massively.
My timing wasn't right for the Triple Crown game in Dublin. Probably not the best time to forget my kicking tee, but there we are. Neil Jenkins, every single game after that, for every match, used to say, "Have you got your tee? Have you got your tee?" He was just as scared as me then, but I didn't forget it since.
Yeah. Well,
that's great.
Yeah. Well, James, listen, we know you're keen to get back to the kids. So listen, thanks so much for taking us down memory lane, and you passed the Home Alone test. And thanks so much for giving us so much to kind of enjoy watching you play. And thanks for coming on the show. Really, really good of you.
Yeah.
No, pleasure, boys. Thanks for having me.
Cheers, James.
Thanks a million,
Take it
James.
easy.
Cheers, mate. Okay, welcome to the show, Jeff Neville, aka the Loose Head on Twitter. How are you doing, man?
Not so bad, lads. Thanks for having me on.
You're welcome. We've got you down as our, what did we have earlier on, Trimble? Our book
Consultant.
sports literature consultant.
Suits me. I always knew reading would get me to the top, so that suits me.
You read pure good, apparently.
Yeah, I read real well. I know lots of words, so it's good, like, you know.
Yeah. Well, look, how's lockdown been going for you, first and foremost?
Yeah, grand. Yeah, I mean, it's a good chance to kind of catch up on a few projects and to get the house in order, I suppose, and to get all those jobs done that we said we'd do for a few months. You know, I've no excuses now. So
yeah, bit of power hosing.
Oh man, love it. No, just
it's a new norm. The new norm is power hosing and podcasting. So I know you've set up your own podcast. How's that going?
Yeah,
give a little plug. Go on. We'll totally allow it.
Awesome.
We'll edit it.
You can block the start out if you want. But yeah, no, it's going well. A friend of mine kind of encouraged me to start it up and stuff. But about 16 weeks in now, about 16 episodes in. So wide range kind of a guest, you know. So like some players, some coaches. But yeah, it's going real well. Ben Ryan was the last one. I put that out there yesterday. That's getting a lot of positive traction, I suppose. Yeah. So
yeah, very interesting fella. Yeah. Cool. And you were busy over the weekend, or is it this coming weekend where you're walking 30,000 steps? 300,000 steps?
Yeah, so that's this Saturday coming now.
Saturday.
Two of the lads were walking 100,000 each for Self-Help Africa. So I've waited for, I don't know how long, for rugby to come back on telly. And, you know, Super Rugby is the first game coming up Saturday morning. I'll be out for a walk, so I missed that. But it's a good cause in the end.
You just walk around your sitting room, no?
No. I said I'd branch out and go for the estate. So I just walked in a loop for, I don't know, 13, 14 hours. Like, you know,
what is that? How long will it take?
I think one of the boys texted there the last day, and he said it's like walking from Limerick to Kilkee. So when he said that, I kind of could have done without knowing that, like, to be honest with you. But you know, I've gone to Kilkee for worse reasons, so it could be an all right one, you know.
You could be stopped in the way. I don't think you're allowed to walk that far.
I think I'll be up on Neighbourhood Watch, walking around the estate over and over again. But look, we'll see how it goes.
Okay, well, as our sportsbook consultant, you've gone with Sam Warburton's Open Side, David Epstein's The Sports Gene, and Andre Agassi's Open. I suppose what quantifies a very good sports book for you, first of all?
I think first off, it's honesty, because like you read an awful lot of sports books, and you know, players are too worried about upsetting people, or you know, athletes are too worried about maybe how they're going to be portrayed afterwards. Should they leave stuff in or out? Like, I mean, I don't know if you've ever read Bernard Jackman's one, Blue Blood, but from the very start, I think the first line of that is Michael Cheika telling him that he told him, like, I'll decide when you retire. And for something like that to be put in the book straight away, you're kind of like, right, this is going to be, you know, no punches pulled kind of a thing. Like, so I think once people are honest in it, now I know the sports gene, it's not really about honesty, it's more science and stuff like that. So you've no choice but to be honest, I suppose. But no, Open Side, I thought, just because it's so relevant, I thought we'd talk about it. You know, I mean, he's very recently retired. He's coaching with Wales now as well, and hell of a career, and a young retiree as well. You know, and with Andre Agassi, then he's kind of the other side of the coin. You know, he had a long career, but you still got to see a side of him that you don't see on television. You got to see the athlete, you know, who he really was as a person and as well. So I suppose honesty to answer that question is probably what makes the best one.
Yeah, I agree. I haven't read Sam Warburton's book, but I think I will now, obviously, after you've put it forward as one of your favorites. So give us an insight into that. You know, obviously he did retire. What was he? 29? Was he
29? Yeah,
29.
Surely
seems
it would be more difficult for him to have been honest, because he's in the wheels set up now,
Yeah.
isn't he?
Yeah.
And because he has the perfect nice guy image, captain of the Lions, and that's what everybody thinks about when you think of Sam Warburton. That would have been, I'd be shocked if he was like unveiling massive secrets.
I think that's probably what I like most about it, is that like he breaks the book up, because he played 7. He breaks it up as well in between chapters into the 7 kind of pillars of leadership. But he doesn't do it in kind of like a holier than thou way. Like, and do you know when you say that there, you're kind of thinking, oh, he's going to be preaching at me now for the whole. Like, it's really not. And there's actually one story he tells in the book, and Andrew, it's just the way you said it there. You'd be shocked if he kind of came across as different. He's playing against Australia, and he says that he got really thick with Hooper after a while, and that he pinned him to the ground and he throttled him, and he told him, if you touch me again, I'll slit your throat, or I'll cut your throat, or something like that. And like that whole nice guy image of Warburton, like he didn't have to put that in the book, and no one like Bar Hooper would probably ever know. Like, but I suppose that wouldn't show the full picture of who he was as an athlete or who he was as a player either. To have that aggressive side as well, which you probably need to have at the top of that, at the top of that game. But yeah, he's real open about it. He talks about the red card against France in that World Cup in 2011. He opens up about leading the Lions. He tells a very interesting story about his captaincy and stuff like that. He was captain of Wales at 22. That was the first time. And when he was offered the captaincy, he was against the Barbarians first. And he initially thought that he hates captaincy. He didn't want it. But when his dad and his girlfriend at the time asked him, do you want to do it? He replied, I have to do it. So it's almost that sense of obligation that I can't say no. I'm just going to have to do it.
It's like Jon Snow.
Yeah, I don't want it. But
it's for that reason that you should be king, or whatever. Was that something like that?
Well, that's kind of it. And he talks about how Gatlin showed him a video then of he made a tackle and someone got in over the ball, and he strayed and then congratulating him and everything like that. And Gatlin just says, that's captaincy, that's it, And he walked away a little bit more understanding. But he really does open up about a lot. He opens up about the Lions. There's one. He said his first captaincy was against the Barbarians. The first game as captain, and he said that the Barbarians was something that he'd have no interest in playing for, because he couldn't win. He'd either go out drinking and play poorly, which would reflect badly on him, or he wouldn't go out drinking and he'd take it seriously, and then he'd be seen kind of differently by the boys playing with the Barbarians. He gives lots of little insights like that into who he is as a person. But then, following that, there's just a little clip where he is carrying the Olympic torch for Wales, and he makes the front page of the paper, but above it, I think it says something like, police finally catch paedophile who was on the run, or something like that. So he mixes, there is that humor mixed in with the seriousness as well, which is great. So it's he is quite honest in it, yeah.
Okay, yeah, sold. Right, this book basically, you recommended this to me about 3 weeks ago, and I was well into it, but then I started reading Normal People because Trimble. So
there's no sex. There's no sex in the sports team.
yeah, not enough. So I'm reading the both. I went back to it yesterday just to get another few chapters in, and so give us the premise from having read it all.
Essentially, he just looks at the whole. I don't know how to sum this up in such few words, and probably if he hears me saying this, he'll probably cry because it probably took so long to write. But he essentially just looks at the debate between nature and nurture, and he traces how far science has come into kind of solving that argument. Now, I suppose the beauty of this book is that in school I didn't do sciences. There was a lot of times reading the book that I was like, oh, I know some of these words, but I didn't really get the whole idea. But then in other parts, he kind of breaks it down to a point where you're like, okay, I do understand that. I know where he's coming from now, and kind of I can grasp what he's talking about there. But he looks at everything. He looks at athletes from Kenya to Jamaica to America. He talks about sport from basketball to high jumping to softball to Huskies in Alaska. And he just talks about how genetics, genes, which is probably the same thing, race, culture, environment, gender, all these add up to make essentially an athlete what it is.
So is this like a counter argument against Malcolm Gladwell, who'd written Outliers and Blink and stuff like that, where it was more about nurture, where you build up your 10,000 hours and you essentially become a master at something, and that was the key. Whereas is this the counter argument that, okay, that is important to do your practice and to work hard at something, but some people are genetically just made for a certain sport or a type of movement, and that gives them an advantage. Is that right?
Yeah, like I think he sums it up when he says you need both. Like an athlete without one or the other, like without nature or nurture, is not going to make it. And essentially, he says if only accumulated hours of practice matter, why do we separate men and women in athletic competition? And I know that really kind of oversimplifies an argument, you know. But kind of he does dispute the 10,000 hours. Like, he tells stories of a guy who suddenly became a high jumper because he was dunking a basketball, like never high jumped before, and in 18 months later he won the world championships, you know. So
yeah, I've read that one. That's interesting because he puts him side by side with the guy who's been doing it, like the Tiger Woods of high jumps. He's been doing it since he was 5 alongside his dad, and he was the ultimate professional, and he beat him basically, didn't he, in the world championships after only a year and a bit. And then the interesting part was he didn't develop then for the next few years after. He kind of plateaued at that level, right?
Yeah, I think he had an extra long Achilles tendon or something like that, which offered him the springboard. But I remember reading it and just thinking, like, if you had put all this time into being the best high jumper in the world and a long rocks up someone and just beats you, like, how absolutely sickened you'd be at the end of the day, looking at, like, it would almost be enough to kind of, you know what, I'm just going to give this up. But
it's a very specific skill though, high jumping. Like, it's obviously anyone can jump really, so
I suppose I never mastered
genetically, obviously that's one that's gonna stand out because it's one real essential movement. But when it comes to ball sports or anything that involves loads of different movement or loads of different skills, and that's obviously going to make
a massive difference.
Massive difference, yeah.
I think, did you read the part about when he's talking about basketball and the height difference? And he's talking about, just for anyone maybe who hasn't read it, you know, they say if you're between 6 foot and 6'2" in America, and you're between the ages of 20 and 40, you have it. I think it's your chances of playing in the NBA are 1 in 5 million, or 5 in a million. Sorry. Yeah. If you're 6'2" to 6'4", it's 20 in a million. If you're 6'10" to 7 foot, it's 32,000 in a million. But if you're 7 foot or over, there's a 1 in 6 chance you'll play in the NBA. So that's even kind of without ball skills, or, you know. So
that's incredible. So yeah, that's like if you know 6 people in America, they're 7 foot or plus tall. One of them will be in the NBA. NBA.
They fell for it. They signed up for the MBMA. What? I was wanting to play NBA. You're too tall for the NBA.
Okay, so
in summary, I know you're like cautious about over summarizing, but in the age-old debate of nature versus nurture, he comes out and says it needs a bit of both, basically. Because this reminds me a little bit of a Declan Kidney press conference. Well, yes, I know.
Yeah. I mean, it's fair enough. It's like, that's anyone that would argue that one is more important than the other is kind of, it's ridiculous, because every sport is different. Every athlete is different. Every person is different. So they've, so much, like we were talking actually earlier on, Jeff, to James Hook about his development into being, as talented as he was, it was that he played every different sport and was out on the road day and night as a kid and growing up, and he wouldn't be as good a player as he was now if it wasn't for that. So I suppose that is the way I'd look at when I come out of reading this. I'm sure I look at it that when you've got kids and or you're coaching or anything, how do you use this knowledge and apply it to how you'd raise a kid who wants to get into sport? It's would you do you look at the kid and say, God, this kid has got incredibly strong Achilles tendon, he's going to be a high jumper? Is it that, do people go to that level?
Yeah, they do talk in the book about testing, and certain athletes are tested for maybe fast twitch or slow twitch muscles and stuff like that, and they're suddenly changed from one sport to another. Like there was one athlete in it, and I can't remember what her initial sport was, but they just decided to change her to skiing, to downhill skiing, and they compared her afterwards to a giraffe on skis or something like that, but she had an Olympic medal. So
yeah,
you're kind
she was
of
an Australian lifeguard, I think, wasn't it, or something like that?
Was that it? Yeah.
Yeah, she could do a lot of the movement because of how hard she trained. How hard those open swimmers or whatever they are in Australia train, but she couldn't ski basically. So she was like going around with her medal and her flowers, and she kept falling flat in her face.
Yeah, it's bananas. But even the book itself now, even to get away from the science side of it, probably what I enjoyed most about it was just the different facts you learn about sports. Again, there's one about the NFL, and it said 1 centimeter and 3 kilograms extra of weight translates into about $45,000 worth of extra income. And just to be that lucky to have that extra centimeter, you can't coach height, you can put on weight, but you can't get taller. So to be blessed with that just extra centimeter, and to be told, right, you're now more valuable as an athlete, those things are bananas.
Okay, well then finally bringing us on to Andre Agassi Open, which if you're looking for an honest book, it's probably the most honest sports book you can find. He gets pretty controversial in it. He names and shames everyone. He goes to town on a few people, and then he makes it really specific about his memory of games is phenomenal, I suppose, although I'm sure he can just watch back and write about them. But the detail and the memory he has is incredible. And then it does open up that conversation about nature versus nurture, because he's coming from a background of, at 5 years of age, his father building a machine that peppered balls at him 2,000 times a day. So he didn't really have a choice, right?
Yeah, it's probably almost an anti-sports book. The man hates tennis. And he opens up at the start and he says, I just don't like tennis. And you're kind of thinking, well, you've done pretty well for a man who doesn't really like tennis. It's also probably a book about how not to raise children, maybe. I don't know if that's a controversial one to say, but the dad really did heap pressure on him, from that machine you mentioned, Barry, there, to, didn't he bet the family's life savings on him to beat a man when he was still just a young fella? He was only 10 or something like that.
So it's, but he did mention that he asked his father afterwards, would he change anything? It's no, I wouldn't change a thing. And you kind of get it from Agassi that he maybe wouldn't change. I don't know. There's something about it. Okay, you look at him now. He's married to Steffi Graf. He's got beautiful children. He's got an incredible foundation that's supporting disadvantaged children in Nevada. He's one of the most interesting and best athletes of our generation. I mean, without the father, you've got none of that. So that's where I get a bit, I'm like, fuck, I want to build a machine and pepper my son with balls.
It reminded me a bit of Tiger Woods as well, the way Tiger Woods' dad would. I don't know if you've read the book. There's Jeff Bernstein's one, and he mentions that Tiger Woods would watch his dad hitting balls in the garage, as a kid, and he'd get fed when the dad hit a ball. It kind of reminded me a bit of that, maybe just the extreme. If
we lose those kind of lunatic fathers, we don't have Tiger Woods, we don't have Michael Jordan, we don't have Andre Agassi.
That's true,
So-
I suppose. But I mean, at the same time, like I can't sit here and advocate. Yeah, we should probably pepper balls at children.
The other thing it does, so it touches massively on the parenting side, which is really interesting to see the effect that that has on him, and that's obviously massively a part of why he hates tennis. But the one kind of sport, kind of like psychological effect of that is he becomes a perfectionist, doesn't he? And then there's kind of a moment of realization that he doesn't need to win every point. He just needs to be slightly better than the guy he's playing against, which is a really interesting kind of. He's obviously got that that mindset from growing up, and his dad trying to make him a perfectionist, trying to make him as good as possible. But even with that massively intense upbringing, they've still missed something, like a little bit of a something that he can capture that's going to actually make him even better.
Yeah, it's just interesting that you look at Warburton's book and he says like, I want to be the best, and he flat out wants to be the greatest number 7 to ever play the game. And then you look at Agassi and he says, I just need to be slightly better than the guy I'm playing against at that time. And I'm not sure about the psychology behind it all, but it's like I found it amazing how that kind of psychology works for different athletes as well. To say like, oh, I just need to win rather than I need to be. You have these guys who say, oh, I made a couple of mistakes in that game, or I could have done better, and then you have another athlete who says, well, I won the game, so what does it really matter? So I found that side of it very interesting. But even just like, one thing that stuck out for me as well is what his life would be like if his career paralleled at the same time as the rise in social media. And there's two things kind of I think about that. The first is maybe one side of it is, would it have offered more of an insight into his life, or an insight into why he rebelled, or stuff like that? Or the other side of it then is, would it just have been a massive invasion of his privacy and kind of impacted him on the other way? And the guys like Warburton, were around during social media and probably had to tailor their social lives, or I don't know, it's probably a better way of saying that, but their lives outside of rugby around that better. But Agassi didn't have that problem, but would having that insight into his life helped commentators, journalists, fans understand who he was and why he acted, in certain ways,
Yeah, potentially. First of all, the contrast between Warburton and Agassi, I think there's maybe something in Warburton playing a team sport, so he always has to stand out. Agassi, if he wins every time he goes on the court, no one remembers, maybe his serving percentage being down, or some sort of element of his game not being great. If he keeps winning, it doesn't matter. He's always going to be the best in the world, as Warburton says there. But yeah, the social media thing's interesting. Actually, it'd be interesting to see in a parallel universe what the impact of that would have been. It certainly would have took the impact out of his book, because you would have known more about him. He would have had more exposure, because social media, as we're inclined to think more and more. We're just talking about Agassi. If he had more exposure to social media when he was playing, you might have found out more about him. People would have been commenting more on his life, and he might have been able to grapple with his upbringing a little bit more and come to a better understanding of it. But that's the positive side of social media. We spoke last week with Jacob Stockdale about the negative side of social media, and people chirping in on other people's lives and feeling like they have an opinion whenever it's generally not welcomed. So there's both sides of that, isn't there, Jeff?
Oh yeah, like I was chatting to Sammy Arnold about it, and he said he knows guys, and he's played with guys that after a game go straight into the dressing room, turn on their phone, and straight away search their name on Twitter just to see what people are saying about him. I'm not there is a massive negativity towards it, and there's a lot of pros and cons, but just maybe a lot of, let's say when Agassi was rebelling or wearing certain clothes or dyeing hairs, getting the earrings and stuff, if people had an insight into his life, maybe it might have made journalists or commentators that bit more kinder towards him. I don't know, like it's something that probably we'll never have the answer to it, but it was just an interesting aspect, I thought, maybe of, you know, a lot of recent sports books you'll read, it's all about social media, and you know, somewhere social media will make an introduction in the book, but with Agassi's, you know, it wasn't around, so it's not mentioned, you know. So
Yeah, and if he had have known, he was obviously had a big hang up over his baldness. If he had have known, everybody knows you're bald. If he knew it was out there, then it mightn't have bothered him as much.
yeah, didn't he tell it? He tells a story about how he had a shower and his wig disintegrated, and he didn't know how to prepare for the game suddenly because he was so worried about his hair. I suppose that's how we all feel now with Zoom calls going on, and nobody can get a haircut these days as well. But you know, if I suppose, yeah, if he knew that we knew, or that fans knew, and that nobody really cared if he was bald, you know, that's an element that he can control then of his preparation for a game, rather than probably getting spun out before it.
Yeah. Well, as a book, it's I think the way it's put together, the first chapter is one of the most gripping chapters you can read. It jumps in where he's in potentially his final game ever in the US Open, and he gets through it all. He gets through in that first chapter, like how battered his body is, how he's, you know, pulling himself up off the floor in the morning to just be able to walk. His back is so crocked. He's talking about his team and how they've put him together before every game, his wife and his kids, and touches on his father. And that game, he talks then through that game that he plays against the Greek player. I can't remember his name. But it also throws you back to that time of tennis when it was transitioning from being a fairly uptight, you know, classically Wimbledon all white kind of game to the modern game. And I don't know, it really highlights some brilliant parts of tennis, like where he came on board, Sampras, Becker, and there was just a lot more, I don't know, just a way cooler sport, and how much he brought to the sport, how much light he brought to it, how much color he brought to it. So, yeah, for anyone that hasn't read it, and he even gets into taking crystal meth while he's fucking.
Yeah, that was a surprise, wasn't it?
Throws that in halfway through. Yeah, they took crystal meth and denied it. I mean, what more do you want when you're talking honesty for a book? So, yeah. That's brilliant. Thanks for that, man.
Imagine Warburton unveiled that he was taking crystal meth.
Yeah, imagine.
What? I did not see that coming.
Like, I was surprised he had kind of, you know, that line with Hooper. Like, that shocked me, let alone if he said, you know, something along those lines.
Yeah. So look, I think, as he said himself when he wrote this book, is that it's going to help, or if it will help one person who is dealing with something similar, then so be it. And I'm sure it has. Right. Well, that's great, Jeff. Thanks a million, man. Keep those recommendations coming. And you should read Normal People in the meantime. It's great.
I was actually given a gift of it there the last day from someone I work with. They sent me the book in the post, and I think I just finished the last episode, so I was like, oh, just in time. I'm like, yeah, it might be the next book review we do. Who knows? You know, stay away from sport altogether.
Yeah. All right, well, we're going to stay on the line there because Trimby's going to finish it out with our Penguin of the Week and any Penguin news. Trimby, how are we doing on that front?
Yeah, Penguins are flying, very active this time of year. So, Matt McKnight is doing what he does best in the group. Did a little bit of an illustration. Dan Carter sitting on his phone watching Penguins. Someone drew your attention to an extra in Braveheart, Barry, that you knew this, you had a connection with this.
Yeah, funnily enough, on whatever Thursday of after the show last week, someone got on to us saying that for the scene where William Wallace is being hung, drawn, and quartered, he was an extra when Mel Gibson, when he was being brought out, no one was allowed to throw any fruit. When his stunt double was being brought out, you got to lash this guy with as much fruit as possible. So one of our Penguins was there, and they're all throwing fruit or whatever. And then when Mel Gibson comes out, it's like no one throw fruit at him, but someone lashed a head of lettuce off his face or something, and the whole place went mental. And funnily enough, my mate had rang me that morning from Australia, and he was like, what did you talk about on the show? And I said Braveheart. And he said, oh, you remember my brother Rory was in the FCA and they went to be extras in it. And then when Mel Gibson was being brought out, Rory lashed a cabbage off his face. So I reckon everyone has a Braveheart story at this point, because the whole war were coming through. And didn't someone else say that he went on his first date with his current girlfriend, and when he went to her birthday party, her uncle was the what would you call him? The lad that oversees William Wallace's beheading.
Executioner, yeah. Yeah.
That's brilliant. Imagine walking into a party and that lad's there.
Dressed in chainmail.
Yeah. It's like, the prisoner wishes to say a word. And then I would just not be able to stop shouting freedom at him all the time.
Yeah.
3 points, and I'm just afraid.
Yeah. I'd say he gets that a lot. I bet you he's like your man from One Foot in the Grave. I don't believe it. Yeah. So so Penguins have been on fire this week. One Penguin who wasn't quite on fire for me was Pat Curran. Someone put a link up to, again, we've referenced it a number of times, the time Fla volleyed Alexis Pallison. Is that his name? Pallison, yeah. There's a couple of comments under it, all kind of lighthearted and banter, and understand the tone that we're hitting. Pat Curran puts a comment and says, highly dangerous and no attempt to tackle. So we've introduced a new award, and the winner of the inaugural World's Most Obvious Comment Award goes to Pat.
Can you just call him Pothole of the Week?
Yes. Pat gets that. Pat Curran gets that. And that brings me on. Penguin of the Week this week. I was in the market, Amazon Marketplace, Facebook Marketplace for a rower. Gym equipment's very difficult to get these days. So I found one on Facebook, and this is how far and wide the reach of the Penguins has gone. I got into negotiation mode. Jeff, I don't know if you've read his name, Voss. He was an FBI negotiator. He was on Joe Rogan. Have you read this one? No?
No, I haven't, no.
Yeah, so anyway, he talks about how he was a hostage negotiator and he now is applying this to business. So I got fired. I thought, like, here's my chance to negotiate. And this guy just disarmed me straight away. He said, I'll give you a deal if you make me Penguin of the Week. So, James Wilson, thanks a lot for the cheap rower. And the even cheaper award, now that people know how easy it is to get. Penguin of the Week, James Wilson.
Yeah, keep trying to sell your stuff, lads. We'll take it all. Especially gym equipment, so hard to find. Jeez, anyone knows where you can get plates for weights? Please let us know, because they are next to impossible to find.
Yeah, I think James actually has some plates, but they're in Belfast. You'd have to travel. Okay. I'll tell him get in touch.
All right, that's been brilliant. What a show. Thank you so much for joining us. James Hook, firstly, and then Jeff Neville, secondly. Thanks a million for your reviews. You're a legend of a man, and best of luck with your 300,000 steps this weekend.
Cheers. Thanks a million, boys.
Good luck, Jeff.
Mental. Thanks everyone for putting the show together this week. To Pat, to Paul, to Dermot, and to Anthony for helping out and putting this, again, all this magical stuff together that me and Trimble have no idea about. This has been Baz and Andrew's House of Rugby here on Joe, together with Guinness. Party on.
Party on.